Well, Haas, you're a Royal again.
That's right.
How does it all feel after all this time?
Back in the family. Feels like I went off to college and now I'm back home, so to speak. But like we had our broadcast summit in the winter before taking over or joining the broadcast team, and I got to share some things with all you guys and just how much you all meant to me. And you get older, you think you're a little bit wiser in your older age, and just doing some reflection. To be welcomed back in the family with open arms meant a lot to me. And then, you guys meant a lot to the beginning of my career. I went somewhere else where, it was different, and I don't know, good, bad way, whatever it was different. So, I always cherish the relationships here. So to be welcomed back and be a part of this new era of Royals baseball, but from a different role, is exciting for me.
Well, I need to shed some more light on what you said at the broadcast summit, because we do it every year at the end of January, and we just gather and try and get on the same page. And this year with MLB Productions, it's new, and you're there, and Sam Mellinger puts these Zoom calls together for us with people with Major League Baseball, with the rules and with the umpires and all that stuff. And he says, anybody want to say anything? And you went first, and you gave a very, for lack of a better word, just a sentimental speech. I mean, of all the people, the new guy stands up and says, well, I want to go first. And so I wanted you to know that meant a lot to us, because we all loved watching you play. And we all knew you were made to do this, to be a broadcaster eventually. And you're on the other side now of being interviewed. And the first thing you did when your career was over was start a podcast with Mike Moustakas was on some. And why did you do that first?
So selfishly, I wanted the best of both worlds, so to speak. I got 3 babies at the house now, all under 4. So there's not much sleeping going on at the Hosmer household, but I wanted to be at home with them. And at the same time, if I had opportunities to stay in the game, I wanted to continue to stay in the game in somehow, some way. And for me, that was a different idea. It was a creative idea because, I went through 2 situations as a player that I just didn't feel like the truth was being told, or I was really able to represent myself and tell my story the way I really wanted. The way that I felt the story, really happened. And it was free agency and a trade deadline situation in San Diego. So that stuff was always on my mind. And stay with me here, because this is a little bit of a roller coaster ride.
You're the one doing all the talking here, so we're just listening.
So that those two mixed with me being a football Giants fan, and I was a huge Saquon Barkley fan, and I wanted him to sign back with the Giants, and he eventually did not sign back with the Giants. And everything you read and saw on social media was basically Saquon wants out, he's not getting the contract, he wants 4 years, whatever it is, made it seem like he didn't all the way want to be a Giant. Well, years later, a year or 2 later, they come out with the Hard Knocks, and you get all the behind the scenes, you get the phone calls, and it's Saquon Barkley voicing to the organization, like, hey, I want to be a Giant, I want to be here. And they didn't have much interest in bringing him back. So long story short, he goes to the Eagles, rival team. I understood more as a fan the story, and I felt like from my past experiences, I understood kind of how the system, so to speak, works in baseball, or how it could work. And that's where I felt like the players didn't really have a voice. So between all of that, then the next year in San Diego, I'm not playing, I'm not a part of the team. I grew a liking and a close relationship to Manny Machado. And I admired the way Manny led out there. And I think a lot of people think that's crazy for me to say, but Manny went through some mistakes, I think, throughout his career. And Manny learned from those mistakes. He brought those mistakes up to teammates. He used them as examples. He said, hey, learn from my mistakes, learn from me. Watching him learn from it and lead in San Diego, I really appreciated it and admired it. So when I saw an article come out, and I don't know who it was, but someone basically said the reason the Padres didn't make the playoffs was because Manny wasn't outside doing his ground balls, his BP, whatever. So I'm like, man, this couldn't be further from the truth. Like, Manny is a guy like Lorenzo Cain. Lorenzo Cain is going to be on that training table from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock because he needs to be stretched out. He needs soft tissue work. He needs to get his body going. And then he would always come down to the cage and say, man, I just need about 7 swings. And he would just go down there and boom and be ready to go. And then when the game was on the line, when the first pitch was thrown, he was going to run down any fly ball you needed. That's his routine. That's what he needed as a player to get ready to go out there and play 162 games. So I felt that same way for Manny. So that's what really drove me to do the podcast is Manny's being misrepresented, I feel like. And I just think baseball is at a point in time where the players are so good and so talented. I think, not the Royals media, but I think media nationally around the game could really tell the story better for players. So that's what kind of motivated me to do it.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so I was going to play this later in our interview here, but I think it's a good time to go back 14 years. And you're getting ready for your first full season with the Royals, and you and I did a long sit-down interview in surprise at spring training. At this point, you'd been called up in 2011 with everybody else that eventually went on to win the World Series. But, I mean, you were the hottest thing in town. You were young, you were good-looking, you were playing well, you carried yourself as a leader. And so I opened this interview with a question.
I'm scared about this.
And I want you to watch this. First of all, let's admire how young the both of us look. But
nice goatee, buddy.
Listen to this.
22 years old, a hot topic in Kansas City and in Major League Baseball. What is it like being Eric Hosmer?
You know, I'm just same old me. You know, it's fun to come in here every day and get in the locker room with guys who you enjoy playing with every day, and really with guys with the same attitude as you. Is, you know, just put your egos aside and go out and do whatever you can to win a ball game every day. And really, you know, it starts with the older guys, with Bruce and Frenchie and those guys, and you know, they set the tone. If you see those guys walking around and all they care about is winning, and you know, as a younger guy coming up and watching those guys do it, it's almost like, how can you not have that same attitude just with those guys being in the locker room with you?
So you said all the right things.
We dodged a bullet there.
It was a great answer, but I'm just wondering now, like, with all the things that you just shared with us, if you now could go talk to him, what would you prepare him for?
Oh, man, a lot of things. I would say, first of all, I'm going to introduce you to DeJuan Bonds. He's a barber here in Kansas City. We can clean that look up first and foremost.
Yep, which you did.
Oh, man. I think I had the right idea there. I just don't think I truly knew what all that meant. But I always reflect now, and I'm super thankful for, you know, coming up with the Royals, because Dayton Moore is somebody I admire, someone I look up to. He's a role model in my life. And he just, at such crucial parts of my life, like crucial ages, instilled nothing but winning, nothing but doing it as a group, never individual, it never felt like I was taking on, baseball-wise, the battle of a minor league season alone. It felt like I was taking on with Salvi, with Moose, with Dyson, with all these guys. And that felt all the way up, that group feeling felt like it was like that all the way up into the big leagues. And then it was also a weird feeling for me when I got called up, because Mike Moustakas, who's one of my best friends in the world, still to this day, hits 36 home runs the year before in AAA, doesn't get called up in September. So now all of a sudden we both start in AAA, and Moose had every right to be in the big leagues the year before. Times were different. Come on, Dayton.
Right.
Might be the only thing bad I've ever said about Dayton, or semi-negative. But now we start off in AAA in 2011, and I mean, I'm going good, but at the same time, I'm probably the luckiest player in AAA as well. Like, I'm hitting a ground ball, hits the pitcher's glove, and somehow I got a double. I hit like 430 or whatnot, and the Royals started out good. And at that point in time, I feel like they needed a little more production at first, and they felt like they got a good start. So they called me up in May. So here's a guy, Mike Moustakas, who is the first one out there hugging me, happy. And I'm like, man, this guy, he has every reason to be pissed right now. But I've been trying to hold it together.
Yeah, it
this whole
still
interview,
means
man.
something to you, obviously, yeah.
But man, like, to see that attitude is like, this guy really cares about me, you know? And it just felt like all those guys, the whole organization, we had that care for each other. But I was the first one to kind of come up here and get things going. And then on came, you know, Moose, Duffy, Salvi. So once they got up here, it was like, all right, now we're taking this big league thing on together. So then everyone knows the story. But yeah, that was what it always felt like. I always felt like we took it on as a group, and it wasn't like I'm going home every night like, man, I got to get some hits. Like, I don't care if we won or lost in the minor leagues, but I got to find a way to get hits and survive.
Right. Well, there's a question I wanted to ask you, and I think you already answered it. I mean, you don't get to 2 World Series and win one unless you're a good team with talented players. But it's always been known as a team where all 25 guys meant something. I think Lorenzo finished 3rd one year for MVP, and I mean, that was basically it.
Yep.
So aside from the talent, when you look back now, the 14 and 15 team had what?
Just everything. We had all the intangibles. We had not only on the field, the way we played a game, the way we were able to flip the script. If we knew that there was an edge, we can beat any team.
Mm-hmm.
We can be athletic. We can go to Baltimore and hit home runs. We can beat you in any way, we felt like. And then if we couldn't, we would just try and beat you up, which we probably learned wasn't the right way to go about it. But we were just tough, and we wanted to just let teams know that we weren't going to back down. And I think people only see the product on the field, and that's all they can see. They watch the game every night. But man, in the locker room, you know, if guys weren't in the weight room, or if guys weren't getting treatment after coming out of the game with the sore hamstring, like Gerard Dyson was the first one there at your locker. Hey man, come on. Like, you know the goal. We need you. Go do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
He just held everybody accountable. And there, you know, I listened to a Bill Belichick book, and he said, you know, basically the leader is supposed to hold everybody accountable to what the standard is. Like, everyone talks about making it to the championship, to the World Series, but that process all the way up there, you can't just turn on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't just, it's okay, we're 10-game losing streak in September, we'll just turn it on in the playoffs. It doesn't work like that. So Gerard Dyson there in the locker room was just on top of every little detail, because he knew we needed everyone in that clubhouse to win. And if somebody was hurt, if somebody wasn't playing, if somebody wasn't available that night, it wasn't going to work. And I remember one time, you know, Kane, there was times where Kane needed a lot of days off, and he wasn't, you know, he would take day games off and kind of learn how his body was. But he played every game 1 month, and I think it was 30 games or whatever it was. And we got on the plane to go to the next city, and Gerard Dyson brings a cake on the plane and delivers it to him.
Yeah.
And he gets on the microphone and says, "Hey, Lorenzo Kane played all 30 games this month, everybody. Give it up for him and stand up."
Yeah.
Little things like that, little subliminal messages, I guess, is just the stuff that's like, man, he has a way of saying what needs to be said, so that way the person that needs to hear it can take it in a positive way. And he was on top of every little detail. So I just feel like that team, we had it all, and it's not just on the field, but, you know, behind closed doors as well.
See, I'm learning things about Dyson that I hadn't heard before. I mean, we knew he was a character.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that he could humble guys with his humor. But I don't think people realized that he was a leader in the clubhouse, which is hard to do when you're a part-time player. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
speaks to the respect that you guys had for him.
Yeah, and me, you know, Dyson is probably, you know, I consider him family, just like everybody else. But me and him were always the tightest, because a lot of guys had families and families with them. Dyson's family was in Mississippi, and I was young, so I didn't have anybody, you know, living with me. I didn't, Casey hadn't met at the time, or I didn't have any kids. So we would live together, spring training, season. And, you know, I learned so much with Dyson off the field. He would get phone calls every day, you know, problems back home, just real life situations. And the way he was able to handle it, the way, you know, he was so motivated to provide for his son, for his family. I just learned, you know, I'm 21 years old, whatever it was, living with him. I'm like, man, like, this guy is a grown-up, and he's going through life right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like any little complaint that I felt like I had at the time, I was kind of embarrassed to even bring it up to him, because I'm like, I'm understanding what you're going through, and the stuff that I'm complaining or thinking is not even close. So
Right.
I need to grow up. And Dyson instilled a confidence in me. Dyson instilled just stuff that, you know, growing up with really no adversity in my life, Dyson taught me what real life was and how to be a grown man and how to handle your business. And I think Dyson wasn't dealt, you know, a fair hand early on, but the way he continued to believe in himself was something I always admired. And, you know, Dyson and I off the field, man, Dyson got me through a lot of tough times when, you know, I was struggling, not producing on the field. he always would trick himself, and if he was playing against, Chris Sale, the toughest lefty in the league, like he would convince himself that he was seeing his ball good or he was going to go deep that night. And I just always learned and admired from him from afar. And, a lot of the stuff now with my family, I always just kind of think back and relate to Dyson and always think of where his mindset was. And that was always, to provide for his family and especially his son.
There's a part of the story of the 14 and 15 team, too, that I think is overlooked. And you've touched on the culture.
Mm-hmm.
There were some good players when you were called up in 11. Billy Butler, Alex Gordon, you mentioned Jeff Francoeur in that soundbite we just watched, professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But there really wasn't a culture. I mean, you came up in 11 and we hadn't had a winning season in 8 years. We hadn't been in the playoffs since 1985. I mean, to me, that's when you really look back at what you guys put together. I mean, there was not a winning culture that you guys were just absorbed into and you took it to the next level. I mean, is that just kind of like you look back on it now and you're like, man, we had to create a culture? Or when you were in it, did you realize there's a culture that we're going to be responsible for here if we ever end up winning?
We knew that we were going to be the group. I think we didn't know what really culture was.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what the standard was. I think we were so lucky because, again, when I look back on it all, the way that Dayton had it set up with, George and Willie Wilson, Mayberry, Dennis Leonard, all those guys, Fan Fest, we did Royals Caravans, we did Instructional League, spring training. Those guys always came out, and they were always around us. And we always gravitated to them, we being that group, myself, Moose, Salvi, all of them. And we always gravitated towards them. And we saw how they, years passed, years later, were still super tight. They were family. They were talking about little details of the games on their playoff runs still to this day. So their attention to detail was something we picked up on. And obviously George at the top being the leader of it all. In 2013, when George decided to come and be the hitting coach middle of the year, I think that really clicked for a lot of us that were young that, man, this guy of all people, he can be living a great life right now. Yeah. And he's deciding to take over a team that just lost how many games a year before? Tough start right now. And it was a May in St. Louis, and I'll never forget. All of a sudden, George comes along with Pedro Grifal, and he's going to take over the hitting department. So we knew, again, like, George cares not only for us, but George cares about this organization and how much it means. And, he would always talk to us, and he would always say, I'm even sick and tired of hearing about 85. Like, I want to hear something else. The fans here, the community, they deserve something better. They deserve something else. And he would always, everybody, it seemed like, would always pitch to us how good the city can be if we just won some games. And, they're going to support you. Don't get me wrong. Either way, but man, like, this atmosphere, it will be electric if you can just win, get to the playoffs, and play the game the right way and all that good stuff. So it was always like the message. And I think now, years later, when we made the playoffs, we understand fully what they said, fully what they meant. And I truly believe that we took bits and pieces from that team, those alumni's culture, and kind of understood, okay, like, how do we do this now without a George? In the famous words of Joel Goldberg, we didn't have any superstars on that team, right? But we had some damn good players, and I get what Joel's saying. We don't have any unicorns out there, but we've found ways to have our George Brett in each role. In that clubhouse, Dyson's our George Brett. In the dugout, maybe Moose is our George Brett, because we listen to Moose, we respect his intensity. In the bullpen, it's Wade Davis and Greg Holland. They're the leaders of that group. So I think we just kind of took their script and understood how we can make it into our story.
I mean this as just an observer and not being critical at all, but I did find it interesting, as close as you guys all were here and what you accomplished here, you guys all played better here together than you played as individuals as you began to scatter because of free agency.
Yep.
I mean, that's probably not a coincidence, right?
No. And yeah, I think one thing I always learned was, when I moved on throughout my career, I always tried to compare and lead and mold my teams like the Royals, like our guys. And I think that was not very wise on my part, because I don't think it was ever comparable. I don't think I was ever going to reach like that same amount of joy or that same connection with players, I think. And it's just different because we came up in the minor leagues together and we were all the same age, and we just, we bonded and related at different levels than me being in the big leagues for 10 years and a kid coming up in the minor leagues, this year, whatever it was. So that's kind of what I mean by that. But maybe it was more of, and I will say this, like my teammates in San Diego were unbelievable. Like I still bonded with them. I still had a great time with them. There wasn't bad guys there. But I think maybe, a piece of me at times felt like maybe because I had a bigger contract that I was taking on that baseball battle individually. Like, these kids were young. They didn't understand it. It's not their fault. But you go 0 for 4, you come in on game 8, and Kane, Salvi, and these guys are laughing, joking because there's no sense of panic. They know we're in this for the long haul. But then you go to a young group, a young clubhouse. It's dead silent. Guys are just kind of fighting for their lives in baseball, so to speak, which I understand and get. But you kind of start wearing those tougher games individually. So would never make excuse about performance, and you know that. But maybe deep down, looking back on it, maybe the mentality was a little different. And I just know it's like working out. I work better in groups versus trying to do it by myself. And maybe I think that's what, led to that performance not being the same.
One of the first things I'm always going to think about you is just that you were a leader. And I can think of, I've never told you this before, but in 2011, we were at FanFest, and you guys came up as all the prospects, and we did a little round table with you, and, here's the next wave of Royals coming up. And at that point, everybody knew who you guys were. I mean, it was Moose and Haas, Haas and Moose. I mean, just begin with those two guys. And I remember there was a dining room basically off the stage, and you guys would come in and mingle. And I hadn't met you yet. And I remember just watching you and thinking to myself, if you had left the country for 5 years and you came back to Kansas City and someone was catching you up on the Royals and someone said, yeah, Eric Hosmer's been here for 5 years already and he's been an all-star a couple of times and he's a leader, I think they would believe it just because I could see how you carried yourself with big leaguers. And you weren't a big leaguer yet. It was just, I'll never forget just observing you in that room and thinking, wow, this kid, he's really got it together.
Appreciate that.
I remember a turning point in 15, and you mentioned fighting other teams. It seemed like when you guys made it all the way to the Game 7 of the World Series in 14, the league's response was, well, let's bully these kids, and there were incidents all over the place out of nowhere. And I remember you guys were always great about, we're brothers, we got each other's back. But Yordano had an incident in Chicago with Adam Eaton, and I want to talk more about him a little bit later. And somebody got hurt when everyone came out, and there was some pushing and shoving and all that. But you went on with Joel after the game, and you said, we're brothers here, but this has to stop. Somebody's going to get hurt. We're better than this. And I remember listening. I was up in the broadcast booth in Chicago and thinking, like, Eric Hosmer has just taken a leadership role on this team. It was the Gene Watson line that I shared with you. And Gene Watson once said to me, this team will get better when someone is willing to sacrifice a personal relationship for the benefit of the team. And I wondered, like, wow, that was a big deal. So anyway, I could go on and on about all the leadership things, the way you handled yourself with the media. I remember you may not have been, well, first of all, I need to tell a story about that sound clip, that interview that we did in Arizona. We were ready to run it. But you got off to a bad start in 2012, and we were thinking, we can't run this "Life is Great for Eric Hosmer" piece and ignore how he got off to a start. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but I came up to you in Baltimore. I said, hey, listen, can I ask you a question that will play back off camera with at least you acknowledging you've gotten off to a slow start? And we wedged it in there. And you said, absolutely, we should. And I remember thinking, wow, we're all nervous. Is he going to be sensitive? Anyway, I'm going on and on. But you go to San Diego, and they were not who they are now, this model franchise. They were trying to build that. And if you weren't going to sign here, we're thinking, what better for a team than to sign Eric Hosmer as a player and as a leader? So all that long blah, blah, blah leads up to, do you feel like they were asking you to do more than be a good player when you went there?
I think that was the idea. I think that's, obviously what Scott kind of how he presented my story in free agency. So maybe, I think I kind of looking back took it upon myself a little too much instead of just focusing on baseball, maybe getting my stuff done on baseball versus, taking 30 minutes to talk to a guy and not, hitting the cage for the day, go out to BP. Like, I think I should have been a little more on top of my stuff in that way.
Mm-hmm.
The first part about leadership, I think, we were, again, that minor leagues, the way we were developed, it was not only on the field, but off the field. I mean, we were with Mike Swanson doing PR classes. And I think Dayton, the way he had that system built and the way we all respected Dayton so much, it just felt like we all wanted to make him proud, And I think that's where, when Yordano was throwing at Adam Eaton, it was like, all right, if somebody throws at us and our guys are protecting us, we're all for it. Like, thank you. As hitters, thank you for protecting us and having our backs. But now we're getting a little carried away with this.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a funny story where Yordano in like year 2 or 3, Miguel Amante came up,
Mm-hmm.
and he was from Dominican, close to where Yordano's from. And he came in the night before, and we were losing by like 8 runs, 9 runs, and Ian Kinsler took him deep in like the 8th inning. And then all of a sudden, Yordano's starting the next day. No one thinks anything of it. First pitch of that next game, just boom, 98 right in the ribs. And we're like, oh. So everyone's kind of looking around like, we're not on the same page here. We didn't know that was going on. Not that we ever had an idea before.
Of course not. Of course not.
But everyone's like, Ace, what do you got? Like, there's something going on we need to know about? Like, what is the deal? And he's like, yeah, he'd take my buddy, he hit home run. And we go, no, we can't do this, man.
Right.
That's to the point where it's like, all right, thank you for having our backs, but we can't be, you throw 100 miles an hour. If you slip and hit one there, like, this isn't right. So we got to stop doing this. We got to be a little more controlled. And that was one of those moments where it's just like, hey, we're always going to have your back no matter what, if you're right or wrong. But looking back, or at the interview now with Joel, it's like, all right, we now need to talk about this and find a way to slow it down.
All right, well, let's pivot to Yordano then while we're talking about him. I mean,
Yeah.
he Game 6 of the World Series, I mean, he willed himself to come back after San Francisco and get you guys to Game 7. I mean, I remember the comebacker, he did a little Michael Jackson move with his leg and threw to first like it was nothing. And it was just, I mean, he was so talented. And there was stuff going on off the field. There was the incident with Mike Trout, the incident with Adam Eaton we talked about. There was the incident where you called him out in the dugout after the game with Toronto. I often wondered, to me, the most disappointing season out of that 13 to 17 to me was 17, because 16, Moose and Gordo collided. There was an injury, and as much as you guys were proud, everyone would say it's really hard to come back after you win the World Series. I mean, there's a hangover, whatever you want to call it. But 17, we knew was the last year that you guys were going to be together.
Yep.
And he dies during the offseason. And there was a tribute before the first game in Surprise. You guys opened in Minnesota. The Twins were nice enough to do a tribute about Yordano. We come home for opening day. There's a tribute for Yordano. And I always wondered, how long did it take you guys, if ever, to just get over the emotion of losing him?
You guys aren't going to get me.
Obviously, it wasn't during the 17 season that you got over it. But yeah.
I'm trying to hold it together. I'm soft as a dad now.
Well, you have 2 girls. That'll do it to you.
That'll get you right. The hardest thing with Yordano was, he was getting so much better,
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'll just jump in here. You guys clearly loved on him, but you weren't easy on him. I mean, you didn't enable him. I think about that incident in Toronto, and it was, I think he was mad that somebody reached and he threw over to first base on a pickoff attempt, and I mean, handcuffed you, and you were just kind of like, hey, come on. But you could tell that he didn't take it. He knew that you guys loved him. He didn't take it personally when you guys got on him. So as he was getting better, and his life ended sooner, I hope you guys all know, and you guys all know what you meant to him too, right? I mean,
yeah, and that's, man. So, Yordano, Art Stewart, the Royals legendary scout, who, just recently passed as well. He would always come in the locker room and say, I got a guy in low A, Haas. He's 98 to 99. He's going to be here soon. He's going to help us out.
Right.
And we would always hear that, for 2 years, 3 years, and he came up. And that was like, I think a lot of us, we felt like that was our first taste of leadership. It was like Yordano was like a little brother. Like, this kid is just aggressive. He's not scared. We love that, but we have to turn him down a lot. And, I mentioned Dyson and I, we would always, hang out. We were always at the house. We were always on the road, going to one hotel room, ordering food, hanging out. And when Edison Volquez came on the team, he was almost like a big brother to Yordano. And we all then became very close. And on the road, we would go to dinner, we would get breakfast, we would all be in the rooms together and just even watching highlights. And it felt like we then created a little group amongst us and just continuing to every night. It seemed like it was like class in session. And I was young. I was a student by this. And I'm listening to Dyson and Volquez trying to tell Yordano, like, hey man, like, this is how you grow up. This is what you need to do. You're in the major leagues now. This is, an opportunity. Like, they call me Papa. Like, Papa was 21, 22, same situation. Like, you guys are different, don't get me wrong, but there's certain things that we want you to continue to do, be aggressive and never lose that. But there's certain things that are different here. We need you to not only be that kind of focused on a baseball field, we need you to be that kind of focused off a baseball field, because it's bigger than all of us and we want to win a World Series. And again, he was showing a lot of improvement. So that's why it's tough.
Well, you guys did a great job with him. I hope you know that. Speaking of getting emotional, that last game here at Kauffman Stadium.
Kill me, Ryan.
Ned takes you all off at the same time. And, well, first of all, you hit a home run in your first at-bat in the last game.
Really cool.
And I remember my first thought when you hit it out, and I think I said on there, I was like, of course he did. I mean, if this is his last game as a Royal, I mean, is this not Eric Hosmer or not? I mean, right in the middle of the football season, you guys are out of the playoffs, no chance for the playoffs. And they packed the place because they knew it was at stake. And you come up and you hit a home run inside the left field foul pole. But then when they brought you off the field, I remember it hit you emotionally more than everyone else. And not to say the other guys didn't care, but I think they understood. They'd come to peace with the fact that this is probably going to be it. I feel like the team targeted you. If we're going to try and get one guy to come back, it's going to be Haas. And it worked out for you and your family and everything. And I don't think anybody resents that at all. But was there ever an avenue along the way where it would have worked for you to come back and stay here?
Yeah. So this is a great. It's great because I get to tell my story.
Yeah.
And, again, like, I want to be very clear that it's not like I don't feel like I'm owed anything. I don't feel like. I'm not bitter about the situation. I'm not, by telling you these stories and this story, I'm not trying to, talk bad about anybody, put anybody in a bad spot, anything like that. So I just want to be more than clear about that. I think the reality of that last game, first of all, that home run was an 0-2 count.
Okay.
And Dale Swaim, it was a fastball from Robbie Ray, who this guy, in the booth now, he's 90% slider or whatever. Fastball right down the middle.
Right.
Dale Swaim, our old hitting coach, always used to say, there's no coincidences in this game. I don't believe that either, because that was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
And that was cool, too, because the Royals, like you said, we were out of it. They packed the stands. And I think that was just reality that we all knew. We always knew our window was short as a group because the reality of the situation, we're a small market. Probably can only keep one or two of us at most. And thankfully, Dayton, has kind of gone all in on us, didn't do anything at the deadline. So we just knew that was reality that day of us all playing together for the last time. And again, like, we had lived so much, like, we lived not only in our baseball careers, we went through so much on and off the field together, off the field. So it was just like, man, like this is all I knew for the past however many years, and now we don't know what's going to happen. There's doubt whether or not it's going to be changed, the same, whatever. So free agency, so that off season, basically Dayton makes it clear to me that, hey, we're going to go after you. We still want you to come back. So I'm fired up for that. And actually, I had heard that San Diego randomly was also going to come at me too, like right when the season was over. So I was like, okay, those are probably the two teams, and I don't know if anybody else is going to be involved or what's the deal. And to being completely honest, the way everything was going was, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I don't know if everybody can come back to Kansas City. That's almost seems like it's too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, that is number one. That's
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Would love that. But if not, I'm kind of thinking like I want to win. Like getting that taste of winning is like that's it. Like I selfishly, I understand, Dayton in the front office then because of not doing moves at the deadline, you have to rebuild kind of. You can't go out and spend money and get guys. You have to rebuild. You have to do exactly what they did with us. And selfishly at that point in time in my career, I wanted to win. So I'm thinking maybe Boston because I think that's a good part for me.
Your swing was made for that.
For
that wall.
Monster wall. Yeah. I just felt like, man, that could be a reality if I don't come back to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So then free agency happens. Boston is all in on JD Martinez. And there's actually a funny Boston story, which I'll get to, but they're all in on JD Martinez. And I'm understanding, all right, Boston's not a reality. So it's basically early on, it's Kansas City and San Diego. San Diego not very appealing besides living in the city and all that, but hadn't won in a while. They weren't really trying to win at the time. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't know anybody on their roster. Like I didn't know any of those guys. I was always an American League guy. Never really played against those guys in the minor leagues. So it's like, all right, it's either Kansas City or San Diego. So I'm thinking good chance Kansas City. If there's anything close, I'm coming back. So Dayton calls me and comes at, it's January 28th. And like all leading up until free agency, it's, hey, these teams are interested. These are both the teams. Never a number or never like an actual offer. So it was a day in January. It was like January 20 something. I got a call and it was two offers. And one was from San Diego and one was from Kansas City. And they were both, I think, like 7-year offers, probably within the same number, right? And I get a call from Scott Boras who tells me, and it's like, okay, sweet, this is awesome. So Scott's thinking, okay, I have a plan and something built out that I think I can get you paid to 8 years. So I'm going to call back and see if I can get that extra year, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to call you back, and basically if we get the extra year, I'll tell you. If not, we're just going to keep fighting for the extra year. So this is where it kind of gets a little crazy. All of a sudden, a couple of days later, Scott calls me back, and he says, okay, I got the 8th year from San Diego. Your offer is now this. Kansas City has now went back, and they're now offering you a 5-year deal. I said, whoa. And he's like, this honestly doesn't really happen. And again, not mad, nothing like that. But he said, usually in free agency, they don't really come down on the offer. They usually, go up, if not stay the same. So I'm like, man, like this is weird, man. Like this is not like, again, Dayton Moore, he's a role model, as is Scott to me. And I'm like, this doesn't like add up. This is not Dayton Moore. Like this is not the guy I just went through kind of growing up with as a mentor of mine through past 10 years. Like, Scott, I got to call him. I got to call Dayton. And he's like, how's that's usually not how this stuff goes. And I'm like, I get it, Scott, but it's just a little different. Like we won here. You know what I mean? Like Dayton, like the bond I had with him was just a little different. And I'm not going to like negotiate or anything, but I just want to know and hear what happened. So then, and by the way, I'm only telling this because I then got to talk to Dayton at one point in time, and he told me, like publicly, obviously, ask me whatever you want to ask me, tell any story you want, that's fine. And I would never, try.
That was a great episode, by the way,
Yeah,
of your podcast here and all that
him,
stuff.
man.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting to ask your former boss any question you want to ask him?
And he can't fire you or put you in timeout or anything. I mean,
he could still give me that look and strike fear in my eyes. So I called Dayton, and I'm like, Dayton, man, like, this is not like what's going on here, man. Like, I took so much pride in representing you and the organization on the field, off the field. What's the deal here? And he's like, Haas, I gotta explain something to you here. He goes, I messed this all up. And I'm like, what do you mean? And this is kind of this is like the person who Dayton is, why I look up to him and all that. So he's like, so we just had Fan Fest, and I said something to a member of the media during my, scrum or whatever. And I basically told somebody that we offered you a 7-year deal. So at that time, and I don't even want to say names because I don't want to disrespect this person because I'm so appreciative of this person, but the former owner of the Royals had then contacted Dayton and said, hey, I should say Mr. Glass. And I love Mr. Glass.
Yeah.
I want to be very clear.
Sure.
On that. I love Mr. Glass. Like, I'm super appreciative of him and all that. So he then calls Dayton and says, hey, there's a couple players that have signed these long-term deals, older players that play first. I think as an organization, I don't want to give out anything more than 5 years. I don't want to give anything out more than 5 years. So I saw what you said, whatever. Let's kind of fix this with Haas and all that, and boom. So Dayton then tells me, he goes, Haas, I'm very confident in my relationship with Mr. Glass. He goes, you have my permission to pick up the phone, call Mr. Glass, and tell him the way this is being operated is not fair. Dayton Moore basically offered me this deal, and he's now, came down on this isn't the right way. Like, throw me under the bus any which way you want to. If that basically makes you feel like, you can convince Mr. Glass that you want to stay here or whatnot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, basically do whatever you got to do, but call him here. Tell him exactly what I'm telling you and say this isn't right. So I'll never forget it. I was with my buddies and we were downtown. So I walk outside. I'm like pacing up and down this restaurant or like outside the main downtown. And I call Mr. Glass. And again, I want to be very clear. This isn't like me being bitter or mad. So I call Mr. Glass and I'm like, Mr. Glass, all right, I just want to know, kind of the whole situation. Like, Dayton kind of walked me through everything and just said, usually, you don't kind of go down on these kind of offers. You usually either stay the same or go up. So not that you're treating me with disrespect or any bad, negative way, but why did it go from 7 to 5? And man, I took so much pride in your organization and we won and continuing that on, all this kind of blah, blah, blah. So Mr. Glass then said something to me. He's like, Haas, what you guys did for this organization, we can't ever thank you and appreciate you enough. He goes, I told Dayton that as an organization, we're going to stick to these rules of, not giving out contracts over 5 years, whatever it is. He goes, but man, I got to tell you, he goes, you owe me one, man, because I was just trick-or-treating with my granddaughters the other day, or my daughters, or whoever it was, and about 3 little girls came up to me asking for your phone number, and I didn't give it to them. And I laughed a little bit, and I was just like, man, I don't know if he understands how serious I am about this,
Yeah.
So at that point, I don't know if it was right or wrong of me, but I got a little discouraged, I would say. And that's when I just called Dayton, and I was like, man, I don't think this is going to work.
Right.
And that was tough. It was tough talking to Dayton and Moose and Salvi and these guys and saying, hey, man, I don't think we're going to play anymore.
Mm.
But I don't. That was the toughest part.
And yet here you are. You're the one that's back in Kansas City right now.
Crying twice. Jesus.
I feel like I'm Barbara Walters or something like that. That was
right.
not my intent.
Yeah,
But let me, I
knew this would happen too with the email. I saw the email. I saw a couple questions on there. You
Yeah.
gave me a heads up, and I knew it. No, but so again, I think that was the hardest part, telling those guys, hey, man, we're not going to play together anymore. And Dayton told me some things, man, some things hey, I promise you, if I'm still here, we're going to get you back to that 7-year, whatever it was, and that didn't feel right because I wanted to earn it. I just didn't want at some point in time the deadline to be all right, here we go, kick in that extension you promised me. Yeah. And at the same time, I'm young. I'm like, man, this is, we're talking close to $60 million. Like, I don't know
Right.
if I can risk that, you know?
And I don't think, and you know that nobody in this building holds that against you. I think, but I mean, you're showing us in our conversation here what kind of a human being you are, which we saw when you were here as a player. I mean, the way that you treated people, and there's a reason why you were the one that was targeted that he wanted to keep from that group. I mean, there was an opportunity, and this is not your burden at all, but there was an opportunity for that next wave to have been taught by Eric Hosmer. What it meant to be a big leaguer and what it meant to be a Kansas City Royal. I mean, that's a
but they're
huge
getting taught by
compliment.
Salvi now, man. And
Can you? I mean, what do you? I mean, okay, we'll transition to some fun stuff now.
Thank you. Woo.
What in the? I mean, when you're watching these games and you're watching, Salvi's still going. I'll never forget the 14 reunion. You guys are up in the suite having some adult beverages. Your wives are up there. Your kids are up there, and he's like, I think he hit a triple in one of the games. And I remember thinking, what do these guys think? And that was 2 years ago, and he's still playing. What I mean.
Yeah, and that's where, and again, like these guys now, this new group, and Salvi's a part of it. Like they're writing their own story. They're their own wave. And I don't, like, again, it's hard in the broadcast because I still feel like I'm a Royal, but I'm not trying to like feel like I'm a part of that team. But when Salvi does something, like I think everyone on that 15 team and like even like, you know, the guys, that group that came up together, it's like we still feel a piece of something, like a part of us is doing something when we watch him. So he has, you know, Salvi has just done everything the right way. He's always had that love for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, again, like kind of looking back on it now, like Salvi, and this is, again, not like a disrespectful thing, but like Salvi never really cared or paid attention to the business side of the game. He's always just like, yeah, you can be my agent. Nice to meet you. Like, yeah, I'll take that deal. I just want to play. And I think maybe, you know, American players are a little more knowledgeable. And maybe it's like, man, this guy, you know, I hit 300 with 20 homers, and this guy just hit 295 with 18 homers, and he's making 15. Maybe I can make $15 million one day.
Yeah.
Not that that's like, that's a realistic mindset, but Salvi just like wanted to play the game. Like he didn't care about that. Again, like, yeah, nice to meet you. Sign that contract for me, and I'll be out catching bullpens or behind the plate. So that's what I really admire about Salvi. And that's where, like, watching him do what he does now, it's like, man, he deserves it because he's done it all for the right reasons. Yeah.
And I can tell you the time that we've been in the booth together, I mean, you've been asking me like, should I still be mad when things happen when they, you know, when they don't make a play or if the call goes their way? So I feel it.
I told you, watching 10 years of baseball with Rusty will ruin you because you just pay attention to every little detail.
Every little detail.
Yep.
The fans, you've already touched on it. And I mean, the parade, the wild card game, and just, you know, the beautiful relationship between you guys and the Kansas City fans. You know, the one that I always remember too is when you guys clinched the playoffs in Chicago, 29 years.
Yep.
No postseason in 29 years.
Yep.
And there was a fire at an air traffic control center somewhere in the Midwest, and it caused all these delays of flights. So all these fans were coming to Chicago for that weekend series, but they were, I don't know if you realize this or not,
I know that.
but their flights were all delayed. So some came in the first inning, then more were in the third inning, because by the end of the game, they filled up that whole ice, but they were just slowly trickling in. And you guys took the clubhouse celebration onto the field, and you went on the dugout. And it was like, that summed up a special relationship between a special team and a special city and the region that I think still exists today. I mean, you guys did a great job of making those fans feel like they were a big part of what you guys were doing.
Yeah, and they were. Like I mean, you know, the motivation, there's nothing more motivating than like game 101 and like you just all of a sudden walk into the dugout and you get this just immediate burst of like, man, there's 30, 40,000 people here. Like that's, you know, that's real versus going out in the field and it's kind of empty and it's just dead energy. You can kind of feel dead energy and then you feel like, man, this is alive. Like people fought for these tickets and they're coming with it today. So we owe them something, you know? That was really cool, but it's cool too. It's funny looking back on it now. It's like that pop-up when Salvi caught it, we hugged and then boom, like that's when everything started. That's when we clinched. We're going to the wild card. playoffs, and like it really got crazy, not only for us, but like Kansas City after that, as far as, you know, sports town. I'll never compare our success to the football, but like we got it started. Don't get it wrong.
You
Don't
were
get
first.
it twisted. Yeah. But
And they'll tell you.
they will. That's how
On the other
humble
side of
those
the parking
guys
lot,
are.
they'll tell you that fired them up. You
Oh,
know,
man.
that the expectation level went up, and that was a small part of what they became.
Yeah, and even, you know, seeing Andy Reid come to with Ned Yost, like winning, there's similarities in winning, so seeing that was awesome. But, you know, that pop-up, it's like, the pop-ups hit, it's kind of in between Salvi and I, and we kind of look at each other, and Salvi's like, I'm taking this one. Like, I got this. And, like, that's perfect, right? That sums it all up. And that's really when everything got going. Like, we understood, like, all right, this is now what George and all these guys had told us. Like, we see now, like, I had no idea about the flight, but it seemed like the Royals fans were traveling with us at that point in time. And it's like, this is different. Like, I've seen the K packed opening days, certain days, but I've never seen Royals fans, Royal Blue on the road. Like, it felt like we took over Minnesota. It's a south side of Chicago. It felt like we took over. There were certain stadiums that we were now taking over. And I'm like, okay, this is different. But that pop-up, I think, was what started it all. And the fans, again, like, I always feel like I have a special relationship with Kansas City because I was young. I was doing some things that, you know, I think I, as a salty veteran now, or even like a father looking at baseball or watching a team being like, man, like someone smacked that kid in the mouth or something like that. So I've always thanked or been appreciative of, you know, Kansas City fans sticking with me. You know, I did, like you talk about, I'm a leader and I appreciate that, but there were some immature things that I did, you know, and I always appreciate fans sticking with me. It's like Bryce Harper. I would never say I was on that same limelight, but like, this kid at 14 years old was on Sports Illustrated. Like, of course he's going to say something that doesn't make a little bit of sense to an adult.
Right.
So me in Kansas City, 21 years old, I kind of related on a smaller scale to that. So I've always been appreciative of them sticking with me through those times. Even after not knowing really the full story of free agency, they still treated me like the same after. And it was like, I always tell people, like I told you guys, like I remember seeing fans in Pittsburgh. And it's like Pittsburgh versus San Diego. And there's either teams, you know, hat, shirt in the stands, and then all of a sudden there's just two random Royal hats. And like I'd be running out there, we'd make eye contact and we kind of give each other that little nod. And it always felt like I was a kid that got sent off to college. Yeah. And again, like it was different here because we won. And I don't want this to seem like I'm regretting going to San Diego or my experience or even how I felt about my teammates out there, because I really did give them everything I had. And in that moment, I was doing everything I can to change that team, to change that culture. But I think even those guys in the clubhouse knew, like when they would see Royals fans on the road and how we would approach each other, some of my teammates in San Diego would even be like, man, it was just different there, huh? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, man, it's hard to explain it.
All right, one last thing. We got you a wife while you were here.
Yeah.
Casey was in the business. She was a news anchor, and you guys dated. And when you left here, you were still single.
Never thought it would happen. I was on the record saying it never would, right?
That's right.
Young kid, you should have smacked me in the mouth, right?
Man, we knew you'd be a great husband and a father. And so you come back to us now, married with 3 young children, and so
shedding tears and everything.
Yeah, well, that's good, man. I hope your kids watch this someday and say, you know what? I love that my dad was sincere and that he's got some heart, and you know that they make. You know, we all hope that our kids just make choices based on like what makes them happy and not what everyone thinks. But so anyway, being a dad and being a husband, and what's that been like for you?
Oof, man, that's been amazing. I mean,
you have 3, as we talked, 3 age 3 and under, right?
Yes.
Right now.
Maybe that's why I'm so emotional. I'm not sleeping, right?
That's what it is.
First off, you know, Casey, my wife, she's amazing, man, rock star.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely have so much more of an appreciation, not only for her, but all women and just that whole entire process, you know, starting a family, the sacrifices that she made for her career to, you know, go through what she did during pregnancy and us wanting to have a family. And, you know, Casey was really good at TV. She was, you know, working with Fox News, like not doing political stuff. Like she had her own show, doing mansions, hosting, and finding monsters. Like she was really, really good on TV. And I learned a lot and still do from her. And the fact that she was willing to sacrifice all that to raise our family is something I am now understanding a lot more and just so appreciative of. And oh man, those little kids, I love them so much, man. It's, whew.
Yeah.
Thought we were over this part.
Hard to go on the road, isn't it? It's the worst part about this job is saying goodbye to those little faces when you go on the road. I hate to tell you, it's not going to get any better as they get older and they realize that Daddy's not going to be here. But yeah,
I remember in Chicago when Jack was born. He was there before I played like 2 months while he was born, and we went on a 9-day West Coast road trip. So we got back home, and we had a night game at Wrigley Field that day. And like 6 a.m, I can hear him waking up. And of course, I hadn't seen him in like 9 or 10 days. So I wake up, want to see him. And man, from like 6 o'clock to, I think I left to go to the park at 2, like it felt like the longest day within itself.
Mm-hmm.
So like I loved it. I had to see him. It was awesome. But then I'm like, man, I can't believe, Gordo, these guys, they were doing that all season for 162 games. And like, it's hard, man. So again, the appreciation of like you being able to focus now on your job and what the wives and all the women that, it's funny because a lot of the Jamie Gordon, a lot of these girls, Steph Moustakis, Ashley Hochever, they're all like big sisters to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like before I met Casey, I was young and they would always kind of treat me like a younger brother. And it was awesome. So it's just so many cool like learning experiences I got to go through. And now being a father, being a husband, I have so much more of an appreciation level for what they were going through at that age, on this stage, all that kind of stuff. The big thing with, Jack is, Jack basically saved me, man, because not playing baseball, it's tough.
Yeah.
But then being able to lock in on him every day,
yeah. Best job you'll ever have.
oh man, I was going through a lot,
Yeah.
Not only like baseball, but off the field. And yeah, he saved me.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Well,
But
you've
Dayton Moore always told Gerard Dyson while I was living and just tagging along with him and us, he said, you always want your kids to see you go to work. That always stuck with me. So now, again, baseball, it's like, man, like I love baseball so much. I want to be involved. I would love to manage, run a team. But right now, selfishly, I just want to be with my kids, So
there's nothing selfish about that.
so like, how do I get the best of both worlds? And that's where, again, like I'm so appreciative now to be welcomed back in the family and do this, not only with you guys, but it's just like, man, I don't take any of these days for granted now because, there was, and I'm not proud of it, but there was times where I did not enjoy coming to a big league field and being a major league baseball player the way I should have,
Yeah.
So now as a broadcaster, we face Chris Sale opening day. I'm strolling around Truist Park with coffee, not worried about anything. But I really embrace and I'm not taking one day, being able to watch or just be on this field in this stadium, any big league stadium for granted, really.
Yeah. Well, you've been great, man.
I got a question for you, Ryan.
Oh, boy. Here
That's
we go.
right.
Yeah.
They always told me a good podcaster guest is a guy that can ask the host a question, too.
I think Scott just said we're out of time, though.
Okay. Well, we're going to cut out the crying, so we got 10 minutes to wake up for. So I've been kind of thinking back and forth, and I truly don't really, like I say, I'm locked in on the fastball. That's it.
Yeah.
And actually, I got 2 things now because I want to share something after this question.
Okay.
But the new stadium, like I really wasn't paying attention to like where it was going to be, what was going on or whatnot. But now, that it's Crown Center and it's going down there, I have like mixed feelings about it. And I want to know kind of your perspective on it because I will always have so many good memories at the K.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget when Jeter said we're going to carry those memories on over to the new stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And I know now with these new guys, like Bobby Witt and all these guys, they're going to have appreciation for the K. But at some point, hopefully even before, but at some point, they're going to be playing at that new stadium. And that's going to be awesome. And I think now the big thing is like instead of going to the ballpark for the game, you're going to go for the whole day.
Right.
But it's mixed for me right now because I'm going to miss the K so much and all the memories. But at the same time, I feel like there's going to be maybe 3-4 years. I don't know when the new one's opening, but it's going to get sent off the right way.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, there's one more year and then we're going here. So I was interested to see how you felt about it, because that was kind of what I was thinking of how I felt. I'm like, man, like I like and I understand there's going to be change. I'm going to miss the K, but at the same time, there's enough time to send it off the right way.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. You know, I started with the Minnesota Twins when we were in the Metrodome. I loved coming here because it was outside. You not only saw the fountains, you could hear the fountains. You could hear the water. And it was just, man, I wish we could have something like this in Minnesota. And then here I am broadcasting for the Royals. And I love coming here every day. It's going to be hard for everybody. It's going to be hard for Mr. Sherman. I mean, he's made that very clear. A younger version of me would have all these opinions because I felt like I needed to have an opinion, you know. But I think the older I get, I appreciate that really smart people are putting this together, and I've tried to stay out of it and not be another voice going, hey, what's going on with the stadium? But I think it's very clear that for a small market team, that it takes more than attendance at a stadium. And the expectations are just different. And we, on the other side of the state, St. Louis kind of set the standard of a stadium surrounded by an entertainment district that draws fans in year-round, and you can draw more income to help supplement the team. And I think it's just time for us to do that. And if the Royals are happy and Kansas City's happy, then I'm happy. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be very hard to leave here, and then they're going to sit down in a brand new stadium, and they're going to see that view downtown, and they're going to see all the other stuff going around. And those memories of Kauffman Stadium will be here forever. And they're going to drive by. Who knows what this is going to be somewhere down the road. But those memories will last forever. It's not going to change it. And there'll be pictures that we'll look at and remember what Kauffman Stadium was all like. But I think when they sit in a new stadium and they see a new ballpark district, and it's going to be a part of the Kansas City fabric, you know.
That's awesome.
It's like to be moving into a new house. We're all sad when we move everything out of the old house, but then you get in the new house and you're like, well, the kitchen's bigger than it was in the old house. You know, there's more closet space in the bathroom. This is kind of nice, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway,
I love that.
I think it's going to be great.
And then last one. So that last game in 2017, it was awesome. I just remember the story and I wanted to share it. So when Ned pulled us out of the game, we all ended up coming down into the clubhouse, and probably wasn't the right thing to do, but the rest of the game, Moose, Salvieski, all of us, we kind of pulled our locker chairs there and huddled up in a little circle. And man, that it was like 3-4 hours during the game, after the game, we all huddled around in this space. Our wives came in, and we just kind of shared memories for 4 or 5 hours, and it was incredible. But I remember the morning of my last day, or one of my last days here in Kansas City, you shared a letter with me, and you know, that was something I want you to know I took to heart. And you know, I thought even about it signing somewhere else, but I just always wanted you to know how much that meant to me, and you meant to me. But something I always kind of just wanted to clear was, I just don't want you to ever look back and think that I didn't appreciate or take that letter seriously.
The letter that I said? Really?
I really did. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I've never written a letter to a player. I never had before that, and I probably never will again. But I don't know, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to tell Haas what he's meant to me, and I'm going to tell Haas what I think he's meant to the city, and I'm going to tell Haas what, you know, his legacy could be if he stays here. But I know I said in that letter, but whatever you do, we're going to love you forever for everything that you did here. And I didn't see you for years, and I saw you in spring training. And you were playing for the Cubs, and Hud and I came over and said hi to you. And you pulled me aside afterward and said, hey, I read your letter. And I don't know how many years it was after that when you were with the Cubs. But that meant a lot to me too, that I'll never do that again. But and I remember giving it to Davy, and Davy said, well, why don't you take it to him? I'm like, I'm not going to take it to him. What if he just, I don't want him to throw it in the garbage right in front of me.
No.
But anyway, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'll never cry in an interview ever. Love you, Ryan.
Hey,
Love
buddy.
you guys.
We're going to end this the way we started, buddy. Welcome home, man.
Yes.
Our team slogan forever has been Forever Royal, and I think that's more true for you than anyone I've been around. So
Yeah,
thanks for spending this time.
Oh, hey, man, I'm proudly a Royal, Forever Royal. I know the history now. I know the history with the stadium now, but even Kansas City, whenever somebody talks about Kansas City, I puff my chest out in honor of everybody here, this whole community, and all of you guys, obviously, too.
Great. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Ryan.